Happy Monday. Hello. So, let's get going. Because you have got goals. In fact, you've got big goals, right? You set your goals, and then they just seem so scary and daunting. How are you ever going to get started, right? Have you set a goal for a specific piece that you want to sing, a recital that you want to put together? Do you have that weight loss goal that so many people start at the beginning of the year? Or maybe it's that you want to learn a new technique. Maybe you have something like, I've never sung with a real classical sound, I want to do that. Or I've never been able to belt, I've never learned how to do that, I want to do that. What goals have you set? The thing about goal setting is that it can feel so good, right? Planning feels so good, and it feels like progress. I've got a plan, I've got goals, I am moving ahead. The problem is that oftentimes we make these plans and we make these goals, but we never actually figure out how to get going on those things. And so we procrastinate and we just don't implement. So today in Monday Moxie, we're here to talk about three tips that you can do to get started and start moving ahead on these goals that you may have. So welcome to Monday Moxie. I'm so glad that you're joining me. If you're here with me live, I would love for you to actually just drop a little note. Let me know that you're here. And I would love for you to tell me one goal that you have set for this next month, or for the year, or for the quarter. Just one goal that you have set for yourself. And it can be big, it can be small, it can be about singing, it can be about life. But go ahead and type that into the comments so that we can see what kinds of goals you have. If you're watching on replay, you can also put in the comments the goals that you have, because I always come back and I always respond to people who comment after the fact. And I love seeing what's hitting you, what's juicy to you, and what's helpful. So if you are here with me live, feel free to join in the conversation, because that makes the whole broadcast so much more fun. And if you're on replay, be sure to drop #replay so that I can say hello to you a little bit later on. So if you're new to the broadcast, my name is Amy Mushel, and I'm coming to you from Mushel Music Studio, where I believe in nurturing the whole singer, and that includes the mind, the body, as well as the voice. And here at Monday Moxie, we talk about pep, courage, and determination to keep you singing and moving forward on getting you where you want to be as a singer, whatever that is. If that is as a hobby, if that is as I have lifelong goals, I want to go to college, I want to be a singer professionally, whatever that is, I want to give you some tools and some tips to keep you motivated and moving forward. And today for Monday Moxie, I'm going to be announcing a little challenge. So if you want to hear about that and maybe get in on it, be sure to stick around to the end, because I'll be giving you some details about that later. So, a couple of business things I should say. If you hear something in today's broadcast that you are like, ooh, this is a really powerful idea, I want to remember this. Here at the broadcast, we type in #gold and then put that tip in the comments. This helps to, again, let me know what is really helping you and what seems really effective. And it also helps people that are just coming to the broadcast, especially if they're coming in late. The other thing is that we love the thumbs up and the hearts. So if you're loving what you hear, emojis help to bring this broadcast to more people. So it just helps with the Facebook, stats and all of that stuff. So be sure to put those in too. Okay, so let's get to today's broadcast. So you have this goal, or if you're like me, you've got lots of goals. And so the first thing that we want to do so that we don't get stuck is we want to, make it easy. We want to make it easy. The problem with these big goals that we set for ourselves is that they seem daunting and they seem scary. And how am I ever going to get to that? And so we don't. So what we need to do is we have to take these goals and we have to break it down into how can I make this really easy? So the first thing to think about is what's the easiest thing that I can do, right? So let's say that you're just getting back to singing and maybe you haven't been singing consistently for 10 months because you haven't consistently been taking lessons. You haven't consistently been going to rehearsals. You haven't had a choir to even be with. And maybe you've just been depressed. So, but maybe now with light at the end of the tunnel, maybe now you have it where you've said, I'm going to start singing again. Great! Start singing! So, but here's the thing. If you think, I'm going to start singing and, there's this dream aria that I've always wanted to do, I'm going to do that. Maybe, although that could be an excellent goal, maybe that's not where you should start. Maybe instead of jumping into that super big aria, maybe you should start with something smaller that feels easier. It could be in the same language. It could be by the same composer, but maybe it's going to be an art song instead of an aria. These are just ideas. If you have been singing and you really want to tackle that hard aria, great. Start with a section of the aria. Make it easy. Don't say I'm going to go and I'm going to learn this whole aria in this next week, right? Let's start with a small section of it. Maybe it's got a recitative and then an aria. Maybe it's got a cavatina and then the aria. Maybe it's got cadenzas, and maybe all you want to do is just work on that one cadenza. Maybe you just want to work on one measure. Whatever it is, maybe the goal is 2 phrases per day or 2 phrases in a week, and that's what you're going to focus on. Make it easy. Here's why you want to make it easy. Because if you make it easy, then you're not going to stop. You're going to be having fun. You're going to remember why you loved singing in the first place. And so, because you're having fun, you're going to keep moving forward. And that's what we want. We want to make it easy so that it's fun, so that you get back into the habit of making music. If you're getting back to piano or guitar and you haven't been playing consistently, start with your 5-note scales. Maybe don't even start with your 8-note scales, right? Just start with 5-note scales. Just start exercising the fingers. If you're getting back to that, to the guitar and you haven't been playing, just start with some basic chord transitions, right? Just getting your fingers into the habit of moving. Don't try to play and sing an entire song the first week back, right? Just make it easy. So, if you are here joining me live, we are talking about 3 tips today for how you can start working towards your goals with a positive mindset, right? Because January for Muscle Music Studio has been all about mindset. So, if you're joining me now and you haven't already dropped it into the comments, I would love it if you would tell me about a goal that you have either for this coming month or that you've set for the year. What goal do you have coming up so that we can celebrate you, number one, making goals, and then we can talk about like what is a way that you can make it easy. So going on to my second tip of this whole process. The second tip that I have for you is baby steps. Break down the goal into a series of baby steps. So for instance, I'm going to bring this back up. Let's see if it's going to show just this one thing. Let's see if it's going to show it to you. Yes. I wanted to show you that this little picture of this little guy. Do you see this little guy? Oh, he's so cute. And there he is, not being deterred by that huge staircase that is ahead of him. He is just breaking it down. He's just going to that one step. He's figuring out how he can get up that one step first before he worries about all of the next steps. How many times do we see this big goal and just go, I just can't do it. And so you're stuck there at the bottom of this staircase and you're just not taking action. You're just not moving forward. So the best thing that we can do is break down the goal into individual steps so that, number one, it feels more manageable, and it is more manageable. Instead of trying to learn that whole aria, again, we're breaking it down into little chunks, little pieces. So depending on your goal, every staircase is simply a set of steps that will take you to that final goal, right? So you can start from your big goal and you can work your way backwards, chunking it out into little baby steps for how you can achieve that goal. And then you can be really systematic and thoughtful about how do you want to attack this very large thing, whatever that is. What's really important in this step is to be very specific. So I actually went instead of going from a big goal and going backwards, I actually started just from the bottom of the staircase. And I put together this scenario of all of the little steps that it has been taking me to practice piano every day. So I'm going to share my baby steps that I have used in order to break it down so that it feels like every step is a part of the journey that I get to celebrate. So get ready. Here we go. The first thing that we're going to do is go to the piano, right? If I want to play piano, the first thing I have to do is go to the piano. And maybe if I actually took a step back, maybe it would be planning a time for going to the piano. But I tend to just kind of go, I'm going to go play piano now. And I just tend to go and do it because I've made that decision in that moment to do it. But we all have to figure out what works for us. So I go to the piano. I get out my music. And I choose something that I'm going to play. I sit down at the piano. And normally when I do that, I rock back and forth on my sits bones, just so that I can find that lovely balance as I sit on the bench at my piano. By taking this step for me, it allows me to kind of slow down. It allows me to be present with myself before I jump into this piano music. And it allows me to just find some inner calm, which for me is one of the ingredients to being successful in music making. I will lift my hands and I'll just notice what my shoulders are doing. Do my shoulders feel free to move? Do they feel stuck? Are they pulling up? What's happening with my shoulders as my hands move? And I do this so that my wrists are nice and relaxed, as well as my whole torso. Then I'll go ahead and I'll start by just playing a series of 5-note scales. And I'll do that as a warm-up. And then I'll move on to some 8-note scales. And I might, because my left hand is not my dominant hand, and it needs a little extra strengthening and a little extra warm-up, I might do a couple of extra scales just with my left hand, just to get it going. And then I'm going to look at the music that I've pulled out, and I'm going to play that section that I have chosen for the day that I'm going to play, or the piece that I'm going to play, whatever that is. And then I'm going to notice what went well and give a little celebration, right? Especially if something went better than I maybe thought it would. And then I'm going to notice, where are the gaps? Where are the places where things were a little sticky? And I focus on what my hands are doing, what my breath is doing, what my whole nervous system is doing, if I've gotten all like, bah! Or if I'm still pretty settled. I might break down the rhythm. I might, just figure out where are those gaps and what are the little pieces that I need to do to break it down to work on those things. One of the things that I think is really key is that at the end of practicing, I decide, based on what I did today, what I want to focus on tomorrow. Sometimes it may be going back and reviewing a part that I did today. Other times it may be that I got frustrated today with that part. And so although I know I need to come back to it, I'm going to give myself a little break. I'm going to choose a different section tomorrow. I might come back at the end of my practice to that other part, or I might put it to the next day. What I find in doing this mindfulness, is that now I'm excited because I've chosen what I'm going to work on tomorrow. So I'm excited to go back tomorrow and do some more. And again, if I've noticed that I've been frustrated about something that I'm working on, it's just not feeling good, that's fine. I can choose to not put that on the docket tomorrow if I still feel like I'm going to be, anxious or annoyed or frustrated. I can choose a different section, knowing that I am still going to have to come back to that part. But if that's going to keep me from coming back tomorrow, then again, being mindful about choosing those baby steps can be it can have the biggest impact on your practicing. So choosing to let something go for a day, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, let's celebrate letting something go for a little bit, as opposed to just banging our head up against the wall over and over and then deciding, this wasn't fun anyway, so why did I even decide that I was going to go back to this? Stupid. I'm just speaking for myself. But these are the things that I have to do in order to keep myself motivated and moving forward and having fun, because that's ultimately the most important piece. So, hey there, if you are joining me, I'm so glad that you're here with me live. I'm not seeing any comments today, which is totally fine. But if there is something that really strikes you, if something seems really helpful, just type in #gold and you can put that note in the comments, because that really helps us to have a conversation, helps me to know what's really helpful to you, and just kind of keeps everything moving forward. So we are going to do a quick recap for those of you who are joining right now and maybe weren't here at the very beginning. So we're talking about goals, and we're talking about how to move forward on your goals and move forward in a mindful way so that you are not feeling overwhelmed by these big goals that you have set for yourself. And this applies not just to music. This applies to everything in your life. So keep that in mind as you are thinking about whatever goals you have set for yourself, whether it's around music or something else. The first thing that you want to do is you want to make it easy. Make it easy to go to the piano and do what you want to do. Make it easy so that you are not having to overthink. Make it so that whatever your goal is, that you choose something, at least when you're getting started, choose something easy so that it's fun, so that you build a routine so that you can work towards those harder goals. The second thing that we talked about are baby steps. Breaking down your goals into smaller chunks so that, number one, you can celebrate every single one of those small victories that you have. And so that, again, you're not overwhelmed looking to where you really want to be and feeling like I'm never going to get there. So you just kind of stand there stuck, not able to move forward. We want to make it so easy. We want the steps to be so small that you don't have a choice. It's how could you not take that step forward, right? How could you not lean into that step and start moving? Those are the first two steps to get going on whatever goals you have set for yourself. Now, if you would like today's show notes and you're finding this information helpful and you'd like it all written down for you, just type in easy in the comments and I will happily send you my show notes so that you have all of this information right at your fingertips. Continuing on with the broadcast today. Oh, and I should tell you that if you're here joining with me live, be sure to stick around until the end because I have a little challenge that you may be interested in. And if you are interested in joining us, I'm going to give you the details a little bit later on in the broadcast, right at the end. So, my third tip for moving forward on your goals is just show up. Just show up. It can be really helpful, as I mentioned earlier, it can be really helpful to decide a time, a day, and a place for where you will do this activity. So if it's playing piano, it's going to be Monday at noon. I'm going to show up at my piano. I'm going to set myself an alarm on my phone, and I'm going to show up at my piano so that I can do all of those little baby steps in order to start moving forward on that. Maybe it's I'm going to show up on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5:30 before I start my dinner, and I'm going to show up and I'm going to do a little bit of practice all 3 of those days, and I'm going to go to the living room because that's where my piano is, or that's where my guitar is, or that's where my music is, or I'm going to go to my office where my computer is, whatever it is that you're using to assist you in your practicing. Set a day, set a time, set a location, and show up when that alarm goes off. Drop everything and go. Make it mindful. If you missed the part where I was talking earlier in the broadcast during tip number 2, bring awareness not just to the fact that you've shown up. Oh my gosh, I just have to hurry up. I just have to do this. Okay, where is this? Da 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 da. Okay, yeah, okay, great. Right? Do you notice how my breathing is as I am like, I've just got to do this. I've just got to get it done. When you can be mindful and you can allow yourself to really be aware of your whole body during this process. Even if you only spend 5 or 10 minutes practicing, those 5 or 10 minutes will bring you so much more information about what's working, where the gaps are, and the choices that you have available to yourself in your practicing. Slowing down doesn't mean that you get less accomplished. In fact, because you're actually aware of what's happening during this practicing time that you've set aside, you are going to have much more information on how to move forward. What will you need to do next in order to continue making it easy and knowing what are the next steps to help you on your journey. If you're rushing through the process, you're going to miss a lot of information. Think about when you take a walk in the woods and how you're noticing the different trees. You're noticing the birds, the different songs that they are singing. You are able to notice the wildlife, not just the birds, but the bobcats or the squirrels or, what that little snake is, what that rustling is in the leaves, because you're slow enough to be aware. If you're running and all you're thinking about is, oh my gosh, you're not even seeing what's around you. And those are different goals. If you're working on getting your stamina up to be able to run, then that's your goal, as opposed to, I really want to commune with nature and I really want to be aware of my surroundings. Those are two different goals. So knowing your goals can be very helpful, right? I was telling somebody that when I think of yoga, I was thinking initially about yoga as a way to strengthen my body. And that's still a goal. But now I think of it more as mindful movement. So every day that I show up on the mat, I bring a stillness to my mind. It's almost like meditation, but you get the health benefits of strength training to go along with it. So for me, it's like a 2-in-1. I'm getting strengthening and I'm getting meditation. And so every time I show up for those 30 minutes or 45 minutes, I feel so much more prepared to work on my next goals. Because I'm not frantic and I'm not feeling rushed and I'm not feeling like, oh my gosh, I just have to get all this stuff done. So it makes everything feel a little bit more doable. So when we bring this mindfulness to our singing, it also will help us to be more aware of, oh, I'm lifting my head when I go for that high note. Well, what's going on with that? Oh, my butt's really tucked in and tight. What's going on with that? When we're really aware and mindful of what's happening, again, we get so much more out of the practice. But you're not going to find out any of that if you don't show up. So the first thing is show up and see what comes. Don't try to make it to some place. Just see what comes by showing up. The more that you show up every day, the more that you will discover about what is working, what's not working, and it will give you more and more opportunities to play with different choices. If you wait and you only show up once a week for an hour and a half, that's a really long time to stay focused, and it's really easy to be derailed by one thing that's not working and then be focused on that thing instead of being able to move forward. So if you can take a few steps every single day, you're going to be closer and closer to that goal in a month, in 3 months, in 6 months, than if you try to do a big chunk once in a while. And so what I want to encourage you to do is to show up daily, and make it easy and break it down into those baby steps so that every day you're making just a little bit of progress. And here's my challenge that I wanted to tell you about. So last week in my Wholehearted Singer group, we did our training last Friday, and we talked all about we got into much more depth in all of this. We talked about habits, noticing our habits, things like that, so that we could start moving forward, and so that we could set goals so that we could start moving forward. So what we're going to be doing in my Wholehearted Singer group is we are going to be showing up. We're going to have a challenge. There is a prize. We're going to start showing up on February 1st. That is next Monday. And so this week they had homework for this week to do a little reconnaissance work so that next week they are ready to show up every single day. There are going to be little challenges that will be brought up into the group, and they're going to show up. They're going to report out what they're noticing, and they're going to and then at the end of the week, actually the following week, we are going to have a drawing for all of those people who showed up consistently, and one of them is going to get a free 30-minute private lesson with me. So here's the deal. If you have been thinking about joining the Wholehearted Singer group, there are trainings twice a month that go on Facebook. And we also have a monthly Zoom live Q&A where we talk about frustrations that are happening, we problem solve, we support each other, and sometimes we just get together and we just gab and we just celebrate what is happening. Or sometimes we just talk about why we feel stuck and what are the things that we need in order to move forward. So if you're looking for a community to move forward with and to feel supported and challenged by, this could be a great opportunity for you. And if you would like information for this, we're calling it wait a minute. Oh, I hate it when I do that. We're calling it the Show Up Challenge. So if you would like information about the Show Up Challenge, you can go ahead and type in Show Up Challenge, or you can type in Wholehearted, and I will get you information about how you can register for the Wholehearted Singer group. The cool part is that there are 10 months worth of trainings, videos that you can use as warm-ups and explorations to get you moving forward. So there's a whole library of information already ready and available for you. And so if you would like to get in on that, if you'd like to get in on the challenge, and you'd like to possibly be in that drawing for that free voice lesson, then drop either a Wholehearted or a Show Up Challenge in the comments, and I will get you that information. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to do a quick, really fast recap that we will be able to put up, and I'm going to be sharing it on my Instagram feed, so getting it out on all the socials. So here is the quick recap from today. Hello. Thank you so much for joining me for Monday Moxie. I am Amy Mushel with Mushel Music Studio. And today we broke down big goals and 3 tips that I have for how you can not get stuck with these big goals, but how you can move forward with implementing those goals. So the first tip that I had was make it easy. Whatever is the easiest thing that you can do to remind yourself why you want to do this, what is fun about it, that is what you want to do. So if you really want to learn a roll, or you want to learn a gigungous aria, maybe before you start with that big old aria, if you haven't been singing in the last 10 months, maybe you should start with a little bit something smaller and something that will actually bring you joy and fun so that you will show up every day back in that practice room. Tip number 2, break it down into baby steps. If you have these big goals, that's overwhelming. So what are the littlest baby steps that you can take to lead you towards your overall goal? It can be as simple as go to the piano, sit down at the piano with your music, open your music to the page that you've chosen to work on today, right? Make it easy and break it down into those very little steps that you kind of go, well, yeah, like that's a pretty easy step to do, right? Make it easy and make it small. And finally, show up. Show up every day so that you have that little bit of incremental growth so that you can be mindful in how you're moving forward, so that you're not getting frustrated, and so that rather than trying to do all of the work once a week or once a month and you're trying to put it all in there, that's not breaking it down, right? So you've got to show up every single day and enjoy the process of making small incremental growth towards your goals. Thank you so much for joining me today for this Monday Moxie. I hope that you find this information useful, and I'm really going to be excited to hear how you have implemented these 3 tips into your practicing and into your goals. And I hope that you will join me next week for more Moxie. I will be here at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time right here on Facebook Live, and you can get more pep, courage, and know-how, and you can get some tips on how to keep you singing and how your studio can run more smoothly. So in the meantime, I hope that you stay curious, have fun, and be mindful. Have a great week, everybody.